welcome to another episode of Delicious Disasters. Today we are going to be using our fondant that I made in a previous video to make a red velvet cake in the shape of a turtle. I'm making this cake for my very best friend Michelle because it is her birthday and she loves turtles and red velvet. The fondant as well as the icing that we're going to be making is from the YouTube channel MyCupcakeAddiction. The fondant turned out pretty good, so I'm hoping the same about the buttercream icing. Today for the cake, I'm gonna cheat. We're just gonna use some good old Betty Crocker cake mix because I feel I have to do so much stuff for this recipe. I just didn't feel like making the batter as well. So first we are going to bake our cakes. I'm just gonna follow the instructions on the box, put them in the oven, and then we'll get to the icing. So we've made our cake dough. I'm actually going to grease my pans this time with Crisco so that the cake doesn't turn out like the cake in the Black Forest video. So I learned a very valuable lesson today. Apparently when you buy mix for cupcakes, even though I used 2 boxes, it gave me enough to fill 1 pan. So if you're gonna make a cake with pre-made mix, probably buy the actual cake mix, not the cupcake mix, because you will have to go to the store, like me. I gotta get more cake mix. So I'm back from the store. I have my next batch of cake mix. I'm gonna make that up and then we're gonna bake these cakes. So while our cake is baking, we are going to be making our buttercream icing. I got this recipe as well from MyCupcakeAddiction, so I really hope it turns out. First, we just have to add the butter and then in a stand mixer, beat it on high for 5 minutes. Oh my God, so we're whipping our butter. I have to show you guys what the cake looks like in the oven. So our butter is all whipped. Now we are going to add the milk and the sugar in 1 cup at a time. I did double this recipe, so this is going to take me forever. Our icing is all done. I may have not needed to double the recipe, but I'd rather have too much than too little. So let's do a quick taste test. This is great icing. So next, while our cake is baking and overflowing in the oven, I am going to color the fondant. So my cakes are cooling, and while they cool, we are going to be coloring the fondant. I'm going to make green and yellow, and basically the MyCupcakeAddiction video says that we just spread some cornstarch on the countertop. We're gonna knead it and then just slowly add in the color. Now that our cakes are cool, I'm going to put one on here and cut the top off. Put this lovely looking thing on top of it after I ice it, and then ice the whole thing with the buttercream icing that we just made. So I don't really know what's happening, why my icing isn't spreading out very well. So I might just spread it by hand. So now we get to cut this awesome cake out of the pan. So now we are going to get to forming the turtle. I took this guidance from the YouTube channel Cakes by Choppa. So we'll see if it works. I'm gonna put this top on the cake, and then we're kind of gonna cut around it in an angle so that it makes a turtle shell. So now I kind of have my dome-ish shell. This recipe is a big mess, so if you don't like messes, don't make this, because I've had to clean my kitchen like 5 different times. Anyway, next we are going to cover the cake in buttercream icing. So don't worry if it looks a little weird, because eventually we're going to cover it in fondant. But I'm really hoping that the icing doesn't destroy the cake. We will see. I know my cake kind of looks like crap, but it doesn't matter because the fondant we're going to cover it with is going to hide all that stuff. Next, I'm going to take my leftover cake, and in the original recipe, the head and the legs of the turtle were made just out of fondant. I'm going to just create my own filling. I'm going to take the crumbled up cake and some icing and try and make balls out of it, and then cover it in fondant to make the head and the legs. We'll see if it works. I don't know. So, trying to make my own recipe didn't work out very well. I just figured that's kind of how cake pops were made, although I've never made cake pops. I did manage to get a ball of cake for the head, and then I gave up. So now we're just going to cut little holes around for the head and the feet, which I'm going to make out of fondant. So now we're going to cover our crappy looking cake with fondant so it looks beautiful. I'm going to spread some cornstarch on my counter, and then I'm going to roll out the fondant that we made. You really need to use a lot of cornstarch. I'm hoping I can just peel my fondant up and lay it on my cake. Now we're going to cut around the cake, and I have this fancy little fondant smoother I bought from Amazon. I don't even know if I need it, but I'm going to use it anyway. So because our cake kind of looks a little crappy still on the bottom, I'm going to use the yellow fondant and just kind of, I don't know, make a line or something around the bottom, like the underside of a turtle. And yeah, we'll see if it looks good after that. So my fondant's kind of falling off. I'm just going to try and wet it. I don't know if that's what you do, but that's what I'm going to try. Next, I'm going to roll like a long tube to put it around the yellow stuff I just made. And then I'm going to roll out more green fondant and cut it into shapes so it's like the turtle's shell, and just paint on top of it with more green food coloring. We got our shapes. We're going to put them on the cake. I just realized I've been using water to stick the things to the cake, and I don't want my food coloring to run. So I might just put some, like, I don't know, yellow stuff on top of the, you guys will see, whatever. Okay, now we have to make the legs and the head. This recipe is taking forever, but it's not looking too terrible. At least we covered up our ugly cake underneath. Hopefully I make the head really cute so this cake turns out awesome, but we'll have to see. Now we're going to make the turtle's head. First I'm going to try and cover that horrendous ball of cake that I made and cover it in fondant. If that doesn't work, plan B, we're just going to make the head out of fondant. So my head kind of turned out alright. I'm going to make the eyeballs, stick it on, and then I have some green fondant left over. I'm going to try and make this look a little bit prettier. It doesn't look too bad so far. Thanks again, guys, for joining me for another episode of Delicious Disasters. This cake took forever. My turtle looks pretty good. His face kind of makes him look like a crazy turtle, but I'm going to say overall this was a pass. I can't do a taste test because this is for Michelle's birthday, but I will let you guys know how it tastes. I'm so happy no one has to see the cake under the fondant because that looked terrible. But overall, for my first fondant cake, I think this is pretty good.